Hi everybody, this is Bob, the old ham, and I'm happy to say that at age 78 I am still able to assemble some electronics and I really enjoy it. Finished assembling the main board for the QCX plus QRP LABS 40 meter transceiver, and I just slid it out of the really nice aluminum case that I got with mine. And I wanted to show you here, right here, the power connector hole, and it didn't quite line up perfectly. I've got the connector. I worked really hard to get that connector to line up nice, but it didn't quite, and I just took a little reamer, tapered reamer, and I reamed that out. I'm reaching in to get the reamer here. Show you the reamer. That's the tapered reamer that I used, and I just put it in there and turned it about 4 times and made the hole just a teeny bit bigger. And then I took a 1/2 inch drill bit and I held it in my hand like that and twisted it and cleaned off the burr that was on the edge of that hole, the sharp edges. So I wanted to show you that I had done that. And bouncing around here with my old handheld camera. Okay, so far I've spent 14 hours on this, and I spent a lot more time probably than I needed to. I spent a lot of time repairing my printer. I didn't count that though, but my printer went and stopped on me. But I printed all 137 pages of the assembly manual. And something I kind of wondered about as I was working on this is, why don't they include a power connector like this one? This is a 2.1 millimeter power connector, and this is on a cord. I took it off a piece of equipment long time ago, threw it in the junk, and it was still there, and I found it, and it works fine. But I just kind of thought they should have one in the kit, a power connector. Another thing that I think should be in there is an inline fuse. The power connector cable should have an inline fuse in it. So I'm going to have to get one of those and put in line. Now they've got this diode in here, right here, D3. That's a reverse connected diode, so it won't conduct unless you connect the power up backwards, positive to negative and negative to positive. And if you do that, then that will short out. Well, if it shorts out, I want to have a fuse. If I accidentally do that, I want to have a fuse in line to protect everything. So I'm going to put a fuse on mine. I did find that there were some missing parts with the kit. I was missing 2 47K resistors, one 270 ohm resistor, one 1.2K resistor, and one 150 ohm resistor. Now these resistors to me are very, very confusing, but I do have a real high quality digital multimeter here, the Fluke 8050A, which has been calibrated very carefully, and with that I can check my resistors and make sure I get the right values in that. And I did not find these resistors anywhere in the materials that I got from QRP LABS. Now this is okay. I have no problems because I have a large quantity of miscellaneous resistors and things, and I found these resistors in my quarter watt resistor collection, and was able to go ahead with the construction. I checked the values of these very carefully to be sure they would be okay. And you may notice that I've got some resistors in there that are, well, there's one of the 47Ks right there. And I have replaced some of the others too. Here's a couple of 1000 ohm ones here, because the ones that came in the kit, I just didn't like the way they were marked. I couldn't hardly recognize the values, so some of these here I just pulled out of my stock and put them in, but that's me. it shouldn't make any difference on constructing the kit as long as you got the right ones. And if you have one of those little red Harbor Freight multimeters, those things are pretty good, and they're very good, and they're good enough, let's say, to separate those resistors and check them to be sure you've got the right values and all. So, and those multimeters are so cheap, if you burn one up, you can just buy another one. They're what, probably $6.95, something like that. Okay, now we're done with the power connector here. I'm checking things off my list here, the missing parts. Okay, and the confusing colors on the resistors. They use a different way of marking the color code than they do on the normal American resistors, and I guess this is okay. I'm so used to the old style that we've had for years and years and years, and I can recognize those just by glancing at them. I found that it was very, very easy to confuse the 33K resistors with the 3.3K resistors. I was checking those. I thought I had the 33K. I read it with my Fluke multimeter and found out I had the 3.3Ks. So I had to switch those around. Luckily I caught that before putting them in the board. And what else here? The final transistor assembly on the PC board. I put a tiny thin layer, I just put a little teeny bit of clear silicone grease on my finger and smeared it on the circuit board right there where it mounts, so that when the back part of those transistors go down, right here, they make contact with that silicone grease. I see my pen, look at that. My pen has got the pencil in my Pentel pen is, the lead is coming out, falling out. Anyway, so I put those in, that little bit of silicone grease in there for just a little bit. That will keep moisture and dirt from getting under those transistors, which I think is going to be a big help in the future for heat conduction. And then I also installed, you may see, a split ring lock washer here. That's a 440 split ring lock washer. I also dug around in my metric parts and I found a metric bolt. It was exact same size as the one that they had supplied, except theirs is steel. The one I found was brass, which I thought would be better for conducting the heat and also for corrosion. So I put that on there. So I've got that brass bolt in there. I've got the split ring washer on the top of the bigger washer there, and then underneath I've got a split ring washer on there too. Now that does clear, no problem. There's I'd say 20-30 thousandths clearance between that and the bottom of the slide-in case, so that's no problem. The reason I've got those split ring washers in there is those are springy. Now circuit boards are made out of a epoxy material, usually G10 they call it, which is a glass epoxy. But those things over a period of time, like years, will compress. The epoxy will actually flow, and when it compresses, things like nuts and bolts get loose. So the lock washers will take care of that movement and keep pressure on those transistors. And I only tighten those down with a pocket Phillips screwdriver. I use the pocket screwdriver because I don't want to tighten those too tight and ruin the transistors, crack them or something. Okay, I think I got everything here that I wanted to cover on this, and it's going along very well. Slow. I broke one, I think I may have mentioned it, I broke one toroid, one of the yellow ones, when I dropped it on the floor, and it went into two pieces, and I was very lucky to get into the junk box again, and I found a yellow one just like it. So I've used that here to replace that one. And what else? I guess that's it. So this is ready to slide in there. I think it's all set to go. I did put in sockets. These are military spec, mil-spec sockets. I bought at a Hamfest. They've got gold contacts inside. You see it's silvery here, but if you look down in the hole, it's lined with the gold part in there, and they're low force sockets. These ICs go in real easy. Now another thing I did is I have taken a tiny bit of the clear silicone grease, and put it on my finger, and then I wiped it very gently on the inside and the outside of the IC pins before inserting them in the sockets. And what this does is prevents corrosion of those sockets, and they will corrode over a period of time. And I have found I have actually got a couple of rigs here that are over 40 years old that I did that 40 years ago, and those ICs are just working great, and they are all in sockets. So that, I think, is a good thing to do, and I'm able to change my ICs then if necessary, pull them out, check them, change them, whatever, with the sockets in there. But I would not have done this if I did not have those really good high quality sockets to put in there, which I got at a ham fest. And what else? You can get sockets like that on eBay too. I think I bought some on eBay not too long ago. So you might want to check that out if you want to put sockets in. And let's see, what else did I do on here? Anything different? I guess that's it, guys. It's coming along nicely, and I'm very happy with it. So with that, I'll say 73s and good DX.